Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, Workers of Chaos at the Workplace. Workers of Chaos at the Workplace. Oftentimes, these people are overlooked. By the time everything has hit the fan, people are putting in their resignation letters. Others are terminated. No one links any of the chaos back to the one who started it all. The workers of chaos. I touched on something similar when I recommended a book on this channel called Snakes in Suits. Okay? And Snakes in Suits talks about the psychopath at the workplace who is stirring up much trouble so that he can ultimately get what he's after. Promotion, power, taking other people's jobs just for kicks even, and then on to the next atmosphere. But in this audio, I'm talking about those that I've come across, heard about, and what the Lord has downloaded in my spirit concerning the workers of chaos at the workplace. These are the individuals who come to you with a smile on their face at first. They're going to offer suggestions. You might even rely on these people. They were there at the establishment longer than you. They have their share of connections. They may be quite knowledgeable about some things. You depend on them for their expertise, right? But you don't know the backstory as to why so many left that group, yet that one still remains. You may assume any number of things. Well, people get new opportunities, yes, and they move on. And then, well, management changes. Companies do a number of different things with their business model. Oh, yes. But the worker of chaos is systematic, strategic in how he or she pushes people out the door who he or she might consider to be a threat, whether that threat is one who is knowledgeable or not. The worker of chaos is going to fault find, nitpick with a smile on his or her face. That comes later after being quite helpful. You ask them to do something, they do it. You need some information, they supply it. You need that person to work any number of hours, they are there. But when you begin to find out what their weaknesses are, and you tell him or her what those weaknesses are, they don't take too kindly to your suggestions, your feedback, although they will not hesitate to provide whatever suggestions or feedback they give you and will expect you to do what they have told you. It doesn't work hand in hand over time when the offenses build up. At least those things that the worker of chaos considers to be offenses. You might say it's just constructive feedback. You might say it's just a simple request. You don't mean anything by your comments. But that worker of chaos goes from being very accommodating and nice to now, slowly but surely, you're starting to see the truth for what it is. The worker of chaos is going to do some things behind your back as well as in front of your face to get you to do more so what he or she wants. Now, for some of you all, you might understand that because you've been in that position where you wanted some things done at an organization, and so you had a list of those things that were bothering you. But the worker of chaos wants to feel comfortable in his or her role, but doesn't want others to feel comfortable in their roles. So it's not just about what they suggest on their end, the role they play, but what about Janie's role? And what about Tom's position? And and another thing. And if any one of those people feel comfortable, the worker of chaos is going to make them feel uncomfortable in some capacity. Especially if the worker of chaos is in a managerial position or some other position of authority. And if he or she doesn't like what those others are doing, or feels like rules should be enforced, or wants to come up with some other rules, then there's going to be more chaos. Because if John or Janie is used to doing things in a certain way, and no other person ever complained about it but the worker of chaos, now there's going to be a problem. And too many issues, too much feedback, micromanagement, pushy sorts of comments and directives and attitudes and whatever else, Johnny and Janie, who may have once worked quite well with everyone, is going to find a different job, because no one wants to keep dealing with the worker of chaos, who now makes excuses as to why he or she said this, did that. There's always an excuse. When there's tension in the air, the worker of chaos sees that maybe it's not really benefiting right now. So there has to be something to kind of put some peace in the atmosphere, at least temporarily, until he or she can stir up some more trouble again safely without being blamed. Because you see, if John and Janie is on to the worker of chaos, he or she is going to start telling other people, you better watch her, you better watch him. There isn't any suggestions, there is disruption. There isn't any being helpful, there's some jealousy. There isn't any, oh, my mistake. No, there are plenty of on purposes. And managers who don't particularly care to know what's going on, they don't see too much of anything until, of course, the worker of chaos is after his or her position. The worker of chaos has said one too many things that may have offended the manager. Now the manager is starting to zero in, paying closer attention to what's happening. It's a shame that something has to happen to someone directly for them to see that there are issues at the workplace. It's a shame that there are those things that have to happen repeatedly before the manager says, this isn't a peacemaker, this is a person who stirs up trouble. When I think about Jesus and how he was teaching the disciples, Judas was right there listening. Judas was right there holding the money. Judas was right there being of service. But at some point, Judas in his mind decided that he was going to turn on Jesus. Even before, I would like to say, even before the proposition was given to him. Because see, you've got to already have a seed of negativity in order to do something wrong to someone else. And with a worker of chaos, he or she has already been wounded in some way, whether it was with the current team or maybe the previous team. And if you're not discerning, you're not going to see the worker of chaos and the lies that he or she comes up with, and the reasons upon reasons as to why he or she has to break the rules, or why he or she needs to know some particular piece of information. For what? This isn't even your job. This isn't even your responsibility. Why do you find yourself in this area and that area? And why is it that you are always looking for some kind of fault in someone, or falsely accusing them of something, or putting your assumption or your opinion on something that doesn't require or need your opinion? We've got such evil people in this world. That one who smiles quite brightly, that one who seems to be of service. Remember when I started off this message? Turns into something evil, something dark, something disturbing, something that you can even feel the energy of this disturbed person before they even show up, or it lingers after they're gone. Lord Jesus, for some of you all, pray. And if you got to bring the anointed oil to the workplace, then you do what you need to do in Jesus' mighty name. But we are driving out the spirits of iniquity, even out of the workplace. We talk about this sort of thing in the church. We talk about this on the home front. We talk about it at the next, function or holiday gathering or family get together or whatever. But at the end of the day, these sorts of people are not people that are about peace. These are people who are troubled in mind, body, and spirit. And so they show up with all of their dramas and traumas at the workplace, and they mask them by pretending to be of service, but it's not genuine. They show up at the workplace and they pretend to be honest, of course, when it suits them. Right? In the face of that one who's observing very closely, they put on a good front. But they're very dishonest. They're exaggerators. They're liars. They have a sinful nature about them. And so we know that, yes, we've all had our share of struggles. We've all, fallen weak to temptations. We've, just not always been on point in the things that we say and do at the workplace. But this is someone who's waiting to catch you doing something that they can say, see, aha, got you. Because they know that some of the things that they put in the manager's mind about you, the manager didn't buy it. And so now they have to scramble for some type of truth. They have to somehow win that person's favor. They know that for quite some time, they may have done some things that raise the eyebrows of the manager. And so let me do something that's going to win the favor. And sometimes it is rule breaking. Sometimes it is the type of thing that they could very well be terminated, but they're so determined to bring others down while maintaining a certain front and image in front of those they consider matter who could possibly help them. There's certain information I need to get, says that worker of chaos. And that information that I get is going to be what gets me to where I need to be. And whatever that personal goal is, professional goal, they're going to use the people around them for a season. And then on to the next group, on to the next position, on to the next check. So when you uncover that someone is doing some things in the workplace, such as, get ready, such as starting off being quite helpful and then they drop off, finding fault with just about everyone around them, saying that they're only trying to help or provide a suggestion when in fact they're sowing seeds in your mind to cause you to doubt someone's honesty. They're causing you to think differently about someone who you might have a good attitude about or a good thought. This is a person who is going to do some things that are disturbing. He or she may frame someone, might go through their things, might find out passwords and go into email accounts. This is an individual who will also go so far as to even tell a blatant lie or exaggerate a bit so that once again it sows some kind of seed of doubt. One of the common issues with people like this is there's a body count. What do I mean by that? Many people have worked with them and then left. Some of them quite boldly said, that one's difficult to work with. That one, you better watch your back. That one is the type that is crazy making. You'll put your stuff somewhere, he or she will move it and claim that they don't know what happened or they don't know what you're talking about. The type of person who will receive valuable information that was meant for you, but mysteriously, you never got it, whether it was online or offline. Okay? Some of you all, you're going crazy in these types of workplaces because you find that you have to be 2 steps ahead. You find that you have to be the one to make copies of everything. You have to be the one that has a witness. You have to be the one that has to go behind the worker of chaos and talk to the manager to make sure that certain things get done. You have to be the one that's always defending your reputation. There is an evil. There is an evil at many workplaces like that, like this. And everybody is mad at each other because somebody decided to run back and tell somebody something in a voice that was negative, even though the person who originally said something did not mean it that way. But the worker of chaos said it that way, repeated it that way to stir up some mess. Some folks will never have strong connections, friendly associations, too much of anything because they are very gullible. They believe just about anything. They assume the worst, especially if the ethnicity is not the same. Yes, I am going to go there again because we got some people who are blind to that. They're still believing that everybody is trying to work together and no one is starting any dramas, but we've got some troubled people who they went through a lot on the home front. Some of them continue to go through much with relatives, and their mess shows up in the workplace in so many different ways. They have the controlling mother, they have the bossy girlfriend, or they've got the physically abusive spouse. And so when one's mind is not where it needs to be, he or she has difficulty processing, understanding, communicating, trusting, and many other issues. But some of these things don't show up when you don't spend too much time talking to anyone. And like I said, you got some managers who they don't bother to get to know anyone because they don't want to see it. But choosing not to see something is not going to help progress at the workplace. If anything, when you decide to turn a blind eye, your organization begins to regress. Once again, this is why you get people who suddenly say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to leave. You don't have managers checking behind managers. You don't have people taking concerns seriously, so they don't bother to investigate. You've got insults on top of insults, and people think it's okay and all right to talk a certain way, whether behind individuals' backs or in front of them. And they will assume that, well, you need the money. You're not going anywhere. Until, of course, they master a plan to get you out a little sooner rather than later. It all depends. The worker of chaos creates the trouble, creates the problems, makes up the rules when it all suits him or her. The worker of chaos, once again, can go through things, will say he or she never said or never did something. The worker of chaos can pit 2, 3, maybe even 5 people against one another by running around saying, did you ever think, or did you notice? Or I have a suggestion, or maybe you might want to check out, or I don't believe, or I have reason to believe. Oh, they have a clever way of talking so that it doesn't look like they're the gossip, they're the liar, they're the exaggerator. May God be with each and every one of you. I know some of you all are trying to get free out of these environments, and I'm trusting and believing that God is going to do just that. But first of all, you've got to have the courage, you've got to have the boldness to tell on that individual. And that just might benefit you if you plan on being at your organization for a while. And for those who you've had enough of the battles and you simply want to move on, God is opening up that door. He's opening up that door in such a way where you're going to get so sick and tired of being used and abused and hurt by that worker or co-worker or manager or whoever's doing these things to you and others, that you will not miss that establishment. And you will know that you've made the right decision when you put in your resignation letter. And for others, sometimes it's hard. It's hard for you to say anything, do anything. And so sometimes people learn through termination. That worker of iniquity figures out a way to get you fired. And then, and only then for some of the naive, the gullible, the weak, they will finally grow a backbone and won't allow people to run over them any longer. That is the answer for some folks who feel like they're going to end up being fired behind somebody who's working all sorts of iniquity. And God allows it to happen because He wants you to be strong. He wants you to be the one at your next job to fight for the people. Stand up for yourself and be the ambassador for Christ that He's called you to be. Thank you as always for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube Interim Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. If you feel so moved to give, you are welcome to do so. Many blessings to you.